Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Welcome to the On the Pen podcast with your host, Dave Knapp.
Welcome to the On the Pen podcast for this Tuesday, July 8th, 2025. I'm your host, Dave Knapp, man on the Mounjaro. That's why I'm here. You are on the pen. Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Compound, that pen. It's what we talk about each and every week here. Hit that like, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button so you get all the updates for everything that we do here at On the Pen, because so much of what we do is breaking news. So before we get into it, I want to say a special happy birthday. Our son Cooper turned 10 years old. 10 beautiful, amazing, wonderful years of life that we were able to celebrate with him on the 4th with fireworks and everything. I hope that you all celebrated it with your family as well. I hope everybody has their fingers intact. And here we are with our Tuesday update already for the 8th of July. Time just flies. The summer flies by. As soon as the weather starts to turn, it feels like it starts to slip out of our grasp. And those of us living in the Midwest, like I am in Iowa, we start to lament the fact that the winter weather will be here before we know it. We'll be cooped up for 6 months out of the year. It's a real fun thing, real fun cycle we live in here in the Midwest. But thank you again for joining. We've got some breaking news to get into today. It's a story we've actually been following since last Friday. Now, you may remember last week's podcast, we brought to you a new company called Claimable. Now, Claimable is a company that's existed for a couple of years, helping patients get their medicine back from insurance companies who have cut off their access via denying prior authorizations and things like that. Claimable is an amazing company. You can visit getclaimable.com/OTP to learn more about what they're doing for people now on GLP-1s who have lost access. But this whole thing we brought to you because of basically what's been going on with CVS Caremark. And there's been an interesting development. So late last week, Claimable started to see a lot of these appeals come back as denied, but there was some interesting language baked into the denials that came back. It basically said the coverage was not approved. There may be another medication for your condition covered by your plan. Talk to your prescriber, discuss your options. Your plan does not cover this drug. For your plan, you may need to try one other covered drug. If you've tried one other covered drug, another option for you is a tirzepatide product that has the same active ingredient at the same strength and dosage as requested as the requested drug. We have denied your request. Now, at first, we were wondering and positing whether this was CVS Caremark's way of pushing people to compound versions of tirzepatide. As it turns out, and as doctors went ahead and put in prior authorization requests for Mounjaro, it seems that what's happening now is that patients are actually being approved off-label for Mounjaro. So this is all taking a couple of days to kind of develop, which is why we didn't bring this to you sooner. But this is a astounding development because you have CVS Caremark, who basically makes this agreement with Novo Nordisk and says, we're going to remove your biggest competitor, Zepbound, from the formulary and in favor of Wegovy. This impacted, by some estimates, over 200,000 patients on Zepbound. And so we brought to you this whole idea of using claimable. Many patients did, and many are now finding themselves approved for its diabetes equal Mounjaro. Now, for those of you who don't know, many of you in this audience are plenty informed to know that Zepbound and Mounjaro are the exact same thing, except Mounjaro is tirzepatide for diabetes and Zepbound is tirzepatide for chronic weight management. But they're the same active ingredient in the same pens, in the same dosage, just a different brand name, but both from Eli Lilly. And this is just a fascinating development because I think what's happening here is Novo realized and CVS Caremark realized that Wegovy and Zepbound are not a one-for-one swap. Of course, we know that tirzepatide is first and foremost a GIP receptor agonist, but also with a GLP-1, I always say a GLP-1 kicker, where Wegovy is a straight GLP-1 receptor agonist. There's no GIP. So whatever benefits that people gain from having that extra hormone receptor activation, you're not going to get that in Wegovy. So realizing that it wasn't a one-for-one swap and that many people would throw a flag on the field and not want to switch, I believe what's happened is CVS has agreed to move them over to Mounjaro. Now, what does that do for Novo Nordisk? Well, if you follow On the Pen, you know that all of the future medications coming out in the near term for obesity management from Novo Nordisk are using basically as the backbone semaglutide, the active ingredient in Wegovy. Now, what they cannot afford to have happen, given all the recent slippages in their stock prices, they cannot afford to have Zepbound run away with the game here. And so what's happening is all these former Zepbound patients will be moving to Mounjaro or to Wegovy. And this shows that Wegovy, the obesity medicine, continues to rise in new prescriptions while many Zepbound patients move off of the Zepbound platform and on to Mounjaro. So it'd give a bump to the Mounjaro sales, but what it's going to show that Zepbound is lagging in the sales department compared to Wegovy, at least for some time. This buys Novo Nordisk some time to continue to trumpet Wegovy as the leader or the king of the hill in weight management. But you know, if you follow On the Pen, that we have covered at length that the clinical trials have bared out time and time again that tirzepatide is a far superior molecule for weight management than is semaglutide, at least in the doses that are currently available on the market. Now, in that news, Novo Nordisk actually made a move in Europe this week to get higher doses of semaglutide. So again, I'm not really following Novo Nordisk's logic here because you would think they want to compete in the American market. But on Tuesday, they announced, which was earlier today, that they submitted for higher doses of its weight loss medication Wegovy to the European Medicine Agency for approval. So the company's actually requesting approval for the 7.2 milligram dose of semaglutide, which adds to its current range of treatment. The submission is supported by clinical data from the Step Up and Step Up Type 2 diabetes studies, which assessed the effectiveness and safety of semaglutide 7.2 milligrams in adults with obesity and with adults with obesity and type 2 diabetes. And this led in the non-diabetic patients to up to 21% weight loss. So now actually at 7.2 milligrams, the weight loss actually gets closer with Wegovy to what you did see with tirzepatide, with up to 1/3 of participants in that trial actually losing up to 25% of their body weight compared to placebo. So the 7.2 milligram dose of Wegovy is actually pretty close when you talk about efficacy, at least from a strictly a weight loss standpoint. But we're not talking about inflammation reduction or perhaps sleep apnea indication that comes along with tirzepatide. But interestingly, from a weight loss perspective, when you bump up to 7.2 milligrams of semaglutide injectable once weekly, you do get more like tirzepatide numbers. But they're only applying for approval for this right now in the European Union, not in the United States. So go figure. But that's sort of an interesting sort of culmination of news this week, is that CVS Caremark seems to be pushing former Zepbound users to Mounjaro off label. Again, I think to bump, this is part of Novo's calculation, is they can bump the Wegovy sales up. But again, what you have here is, does it harm a patient to transfer from Zepbound to Mounjaro? Not necessarily. I mean, I can't come up with an idea as just a layperson as to why that's a big deal other than the headache. But what is interesting is it is PBMs practicing medicine. And it's a perfect example of them basically deciding to put you on a drug, an off-label drug, than an on-label drug, just because that's how they want to do it. And it's just super, super frustrating. And there's just seems to be story after story about PBMs overreaching. We heard a story coming out this week here about OptumRx requiring basically verbal beneficiary consent via a synchronous phone call to process a prior authorization for obesity medicines. In other words, they're going to try to get your doctor on the phone to try to prove your prior authorization, which is an unnecessary step in an already burdensome process, requiring doctors to jump through these hoops for patients who simply want treatment for their chronic disease. Like, I don't know that they do this with really any other medications. And so doing this is obviously putting an unnecessary barrier in between patients and their treatment, and causing extra work for doctors who are already overburdened with the prior authorization and insurance process. So every step of the way, these PBMs are just getting in the way of treatment to obesity medicine in a way that you don't see them doing it with any other chronic disease. And it just plays out into something that is super, super frustrating. Now, in some positive news, and shifting gears hard to sort of new medications and new frontiers, I am excited to bring you some of this information that we heard last week from a company called Protagonist Therapeutics. Now, Protagonist Therapeutics is a clinical stage, meaning all their medications are still in clinical trials. It's a biotech company in California with a couple of peptides really close to coming to market in phase 3s with Johnson & Johnson and Takeda Pharmaceuticals. They're helping bring a couple different treatments to market, not in the obesity space. But they did announce this past week that it is working on a amazingly exciting obesity drug candidate. Now, this is a triple agonist. And if that sounds familiar, because that's what retatrutide is. It's glucagon, GIP, and GLP-1. It adds that third receptor, being glucagon, that it binds to and helps to improve the quality of weight loss, all sorts of metabolic benefits, including just an evisceration of liver fat and fatty liver, even what we've seen with retatrutide, even reversal in fibrosis. So just amazing potential. Now, the exciting thing about PN477, which is not yet in human trials yet, they'll be running phase 1 clinical trials here in humans in the coming months, I believe early 2026. But PN477, they're working on both a once weekly injectable and a once daily pill, which is super exciting because the oral version, obviously, they found a way to help it to survive the digestive process while targeting 3 receptors.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free pocket pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
So what we have on the market right now is Rybelsus. It's oral semaglutide, not very orally bioavailable, takes 25 milligrams daily to get the same effect or a similar effect to get what you get out of 2.4 milligrams injected once weekly. Tons of API. And just kind of a bear to take. There's a lot of rules. You can't eat within a certain amount of time of taking the pill, et cetera, et cetera. Now you do have orforglipron, which is another GLP-1 receptor small molecule coming from Lilly in early 2026. But even the weight loss there, is just starting to get up towards, maybe potentially similar to what we've seen with early injectables like Wegovy maybe around 2.4 milligrams, similar, about 15% weight loss. Now, with a triple agonist, you could not only see these benefits of additional weight loss on top of what you can see with the existing orals, but again, improvements in liver fat reduction, improvements in overall metabolic health. And so bringing that to market in an oral is quite exciting. So you have PN 477O for oral, the oral triple agonist, with phase 1 starting in 2026. And then you have PN 477SC for subcutaneous injection, which will also start phase 1s shortly thereafter. So if PN 477 delivers Zepbound level weight loss in a pill, it could absolutely be a disruptor. But this is years and years and years out from hitting the market. But I do like to talk about these because anytime we talk about a future obesity medicine, and we're not talking about Eli Lilly, and we're not talking about Novo Nordisk, in my opinion, that is a reason to get excited. So I wanted to just thank you for joining us for this week's podcast. Not a ton of news. There will be a bunch of news in the coming days and weeks. There's a lot going around in the industry right now about the potential of compounds and the future of compounds. There's a lot going on in the rumor mill about potentially lowering a cost to some of the GLP-1s. There's just going to be a lot of news in the coming days and weeks. We've also got, if you missed my interview with the President and CEO, Joe Naglowski of the Obesity Action Coalition, we had a wonderful conversation about access. We even delved into the topic of compounds. So if you missed that on the podcast, please go back and check that out. It was a wonderful conversation. Our friends at Claimable, getclaimable.com/OTP for anyone fighting their insurance to stay on their GLP-1s. And you can also check out our partners at Row. Visit row.co/OTP to learn more about Row and the Row Body program, where patients lose 15 to 20% of their body weight in a year when coupled with lifestyle modifications and appropriately prescribed GLP-1s. They can also help you with the accessibility issue, again, being very adept at fighting those insurance battles for you. So our partners at Row, we thank you very much. Thank you to our partners at Claimable. Visit row.co/OTP to learn more about all these medications, as well as potential side effects that you may face if you start these medications. Always familiarize yourself with the side effects of potential new medications that you may be taking. And then it's getclaimable.com/OTP to learn more about their $40 program. It's just $40 to have them submit an appeal with an 80% approval rate. For many people that don't have another option and are looking at branded medications and trying to get them approved, I don't think there's a better deal out on the market. You can use code OTP10 and save 10% on top of that too. So I just want to thank again our sponsors of this podcast who make it possible to bring this to you each and every week. Hit that like, hit that bell, hit that sub before you go. That really helps to push this out into the internet world. And if you're listening on the podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review. That again helps the podcast to jump up so much when you leave the 5-star ratings and the reviews. It's so helpful. Just takes a quick second, and it's an easy way to support the work that we do. And the last plug would be for our Substack. If you want to get email updates to your inbox each and every day as we do amazing stories about the future of obesity medicines and news as it breaks delivered right to your inbox, go to obesity.news. Just type that into your browser, obesity.news, just like you see it down here at the bottom of the screen, obesity.news. Take you right there, put your email address in, and get signed up for our Substack, where we bring you tons of great information. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. I wouldn't, and shouldn't do it without you. Until next week, I hope that you have a great one, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel to get tons of great updates coming later this week.